Okay, so what we talked about on Wednesday, it's taken me all day to say that correctly, but on Wednesday, here's what we talked about. We talked about finding the x-intercept, eyes up, phones down, page 16. We talked about finding the x-intercept and then giving it a coordinate with a 0 in the y spot. So this is the part you absolutely have to notice today so that you can understand what we're about to do. Okay? So for the x-intercept, there is a number in the x position and a 0 in the y position. That's super important for what we're doing today. Then for the y-intercept, there is a number in the y position and a 0 in the x spot. That's super important. Okay, so that's what we talked about on Wednesday, real quick after our assessment. Okay? Then we moved a little bit further and we said, okay, now I'm going to give you the x-intercept and I need you to graph it. Okay, so let's write this down. I know that I gave you it as an x-intercept of 5, but in reality, that is the point 5, 0. And I'm overemphasizing this today because I really need you to understand that there's a 0 with that 5. Okay? And now we're going to put that on the graph. So if our x-intercept is 0, that is the point on the x-axis at 5. So I'm just going to put a dot right there. Okay? Then it says the y-intercept is -3, which means that is the point 0, -3, which is on the y-axis at -3, and then we connect them. Okay, so because we didn't have school yesterday, this is a little bit of a recap. We already did that problem. So that's your level 1 and your level 2. This should be a really easy place for you to get at least a 2, if not more, on this particular standard, which helps kind of across the board. Okay? Okay, so same thing, really quick, we'll do this other one here. The y-intercept is at 3, so I go to the y-axis until I hit 3, put a dot. Same thing, go to the x-axis until you hit -2. Put a dot at -2, and then connect them with arrows on the end. This seems like a really easy way to graph, right? Okay, so that's our level 1, level 2, but really our focus for today is level 3. Okay, so let's flip the page and let's go to level 3. Okay, so on level 3, this is what we need to do. We need to actually take an equation now. We're going to take an equation like this, and we are going to find the x and the y-intercepts. Okay? Okay, once we do this, I'm going to write it all out in an obnoxiously long way, but you're going to catch on to like a shortcut, okay? Pretty quickly, you're going to catch on to the shortcut. Once you catch on to the shortcut, you can say, well, can't we just? And I'll say, yes, that's our shortcut, and we'll move on from there, okay? Okay, so when we are looking for the intercepts, when we're looking for the y-intercept, didn't we say that the y-intercept has a number in the y position and a 0 in the x position, right? I just said that obnoxiously like 5 times, right? So what that means is what we are going to do to find the y-intercept is we are going to let our x be 0. That's how we're going to find it. Okay, so this is going to seem long. This first time we do it, it's going to seem like a long process. But remember, you'll catch on to like what, maybe I could do that a little bit faster. Okay, so I'm going to let x be 0 here. If I let x be 0, it would be 2 times 0 minus 3y is equal to 18. What's 2 times 0? 0. So that part right there goes away. Let's go. It's just 0. So now I've got negative 3y is equal to 18. Divide both sides by -3 so I can actually solve this. And I get my y to be -6.
So can you just like not write that first part?
Yes. I told you would quickly catch on to a shortcut, right? So this is actually the point 0, -6, right? So we would put that dot on the graph. So our second dot now, so as we just said, can't we just not write this part where the 0 is going to be? Absolutely. If we're going to put in a 0, so now we need to let y equal 0. And so what you do is you just don't write the entire y part. Okay? So I'm going to write it out one more time just so you have one fully done, but you don't have to write that part out if you don't want. So 2x minus 3 times 0 equals 18. So what we're talking about is this whole part. You don't even have to write this whole part because all of that's going to turn into 0. It's going to go away. So when that goes away, you have 2x equals 18. Divide by 2, and you get x equals 9. Okay? That is really the point 9, 0. So then we go and we put that on the graph. Okay? Now, I'm going to take just a little bit of a time out, and you might say again, like, ugh, why? Why are we doing this? Right? That's always our question. Let me just show you what we did before, okay? So, if you want to try B, I'm going to write out something over here on the board. Go ahead and try B, see if you can get the answers for B real quick, and I'm going to show you why we're doing this, okay? So, go ahead, try B. Have answers? Okay, so let me just show you why we're doing this. Okay, so over here on the board, some of you that were finished already, maybe you watched me write this down. This is what we did on our last standard in order to graph this thing. Okay, eyes up, I just want you to see this. I want you to see why we're doing this. Okay, so on our last standard, I said graph this. And the only way you knew to graph it was to first subtract 2x from both sides, write this. Then divide everything by -3, get it to look like this, okay? That already was a lot of work, right? Then you had to pick certain values. You had to pick the right number, the right values so that it came out nice. So you had to pick numbers that divided by 3. Then you had to put those in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times into your calculator. You had to type that in 5 times. And then you had to put those dots on the graph. Which one's faster? Right? So, again, why are we doing this way? Because, especially when we've already caught on to the little shortcut, we don't even need to write that first step. This one is so much faster and so much more efficient than what we were doing before. Okay? So, you should have started over here and gone -4x is equal to -8. You don't even need to write that part where we cross out the y portion. Divide this by -4, and you should have gotten x equals 2. Then what we're going to do is we're going to put the point 2, 0 on the graph. Then this one was even easier. Look at this. Y equals -8. You put that on the graph. Done. Okay? So that is a heck of a lot faster than what we were doing before. Okay? Okay, one more. Let's do one more. Let's do the one on the bottom here that has the fraction. I have full confidence that you guys could do this one here. C. But let's do the one with the fraction because that's one that's a little bit different. We'll talk about how you would deal with the fraction, and then I'll let you go on your classwork. Okay, so letter D. And then I'll go back and fill in C, even though you guys may or may not need it. Okay, so D, if I set up the first part, I've got 3x equals 3. Okay, and what I typically do when I have a pencil in front of me, you guys have pencils, is I just cover up that y part. Just cover that up, and I write the rest of the equation. So 3x equals 3. Okay, divide by 3, and x equals 1. So now what we're actually going to do, what you actually have to do when you turn the page and you're working on your classwork, you actually have to put this on the graph. So when you put this on the graph, we're going to go on the x-axis to 1 and put a dot. This is why level 2 exists, right? So that you can show that you know how to do that without the solving part. Okay, and then if we go to this other side, we're going to do half of y is equal to 3. There's like 5 different ways you could think about this to solve it. The first way is, just think, half of what number? If I divided what number, would I get 3? What number, when you divide it, do you get 3? Some number split between 2 people gives you 3. That's one way to think about it. A different way to think about it is, this is multiplication, right? So all we have to do is divide. And you now know how to divide fractions in your calculator. So you could do 3 divided by 1/2. Okay, type that into your calculator and see what you get. Makes sense now, right? Now that you've seen your calculator. What'd you get? 6. You got 6. If you take $6 and you split it between 2 people, don't you have $3 each? So 6 is the answer. But another way to get that answer, so there's a lot of different ways you can get the answer. Another way to get the answer is to times both sides by 2. That is 1 divided by 2. And the opposite of divide is times. So that's another way to get it. So let's put a 6 dot at 6 on the y-axis. So that's going to be up here on the y-axis at 6. And then you connect them. Okay. So when you're ready, go ahead and turn the page. I'm going to do the last one just so we have it filled in. But when you're ready, you can go ahead and turn the page. Page 18 is our classwork. And I'm going to come around in just a minute after I do this problem and make sure that the first 2 questions on page 18, you have to write them as a coordinate point. You can't just say the x-intercept is 2. You have to say 2, 0. Okay? Okay, so when you're ready, you can go ahead and get started. But I'm going to finish filling out this one here, C. I'm going to go ahead and take this 3x down here and set that equal to 27 because we're covering up this y part. So x equals 27 divided by 3 is 9, which that's really the point 9, 0. So if I go on the x-axis until I hit 9, that's right there. Okay. Now when you flip over to do this y part, do not forget to bring down the negative as well. I'll divide both by -9. So this is going to be a negative. 27 divided by 9 is 3. Which is the point 0, -3. Okay, connect those dots. Arrow on the ends.